Today's reflection comes from Professor Sam McConkey, who is Deputy Dean of the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland and a Presbyterian Elder. Today's reading is from Luke's Gospel, chapter 1, verses 57 to 66. Now the time came for Elizabeth to give birth, and she bore a son. Her neighbours and relatives heard that the Lord had shown his great mercy to her, and they rejoiced with her. On the 8th day they came to circumcise the child, and they were going to name him Zachariah after his father. But his mother said, "No, he is to be called John." They said to her, "None of your relatives has this name." Then they began motioning to his father to find out what name he wanted to give him. He asked for a writing tablet and wrote, "His name is John." And all of them were amazed. Immediately his mouth was opened and his tongue freed, and he began to speak, praising God. Fear came over all their neighbours, and all these things were talked about throughout the entire hill country of Judea. All who heard them pondered them and said, "What then will this child become?" For indeed the hand of the Lord was with him. Now let's listen to Professor Sam.
Christmas greetings to you all. I'm going to reflect a bit on a Bible reading for Christmas. It's from Luke's Gospel, chapter 1, verses 57 to 66. And it's part of the story of Elizabeth and Zacharias, who had both served God through their life but wanted to have children and hadn't succeeded in doing this until Elizabeth got pregnant at the later parts of her life. And this reading starts at the point where Elizabeth gave birth. And we think, of course, at Christmas of the joy of new life, of birth, of life coming into the world, the wonder of childbirth, the wonder of motherhood, of parenting, and the, I suppose, awe and wonder that we owe to our mothers who carried us and bore us in a most intimate way. And at the beginning of the story we're told how Elizabeth's neighbours and her relatives, when they realised what was going on, were so happy. They realised the grace, the favour, how good God had been to Elizabeth, that they came and celebrated with her. They saw her as a recipient of great mercy, of wonderful free gift of being looked after and cared for and favoured, not through anything that we'd done or anything that Elizabeth had done, but for reasons that we don't know. So they had this vicarious experience of mercy and favour, and I think almost certainly Elizabeth had the same experience of this sense of gratitude and wonder and thankfulness, and feeling that God, the author of our life and the sustainer of our life, has shown us great kindness in this birth of a son. And this experience of living in a receptive way to gratitude, in recognising the happiness of life, of the good things in life, and the wonder of the goodness of some parts of life, is a great way to live. I'm not saying, of course, there aren't downsides and tragedy and horror and suffering in the world, and many of us, perhaps all of us, have seen it. Perhaps we're born to suffer, but we're also, I believe, here to recognise when we're recipients of God's grace, God's favour, God's mercy, and to be thankful for that. And then to celebrate. It seems like the friends, the neighbours had a party. They realised this. They really were thankful, and it may not be just quite the Dionysian alcohol. It may not be just Ecclesiastes, eat, drink, be merry, but it was, let's celebrate together. Let's come together as a community and recognise this great things that's happened. Later on then, the neighbours ask, what are you going to call the child? And the neighbours think it should be called Zacharias. Elizabeth says, no. Oki, no. A strong no. She, in reality, spoke Hebrew Aramaic. The story we have is in Greek, so it's already been translated, and of course many of us are reading it in English. But so this narrative has gone through probably at least 2 translations, and we don't have the Aramaic or Hebrew words that she used. But she said, no, we'll call him John, Johannes, Yochanan, which is of course the Hebrew Aramaic name, meaning God is gracious, God is merciful, Jehovah has been favourable to me. Things are again this experience of being favoured, being cherished, being given a gift for no clear reason. Even in the name, Elizabeth had this experience of feeling favoured, feeling looked after, feeling cherished by God, feeling special, and wanted to reflect that in the name that she gave to the child. Obviously then the neighbours felt they should ask the father, what name the child should have, and he also said his name is John. So this is again rakum, compassion, mercy from Hebrew. So at this Christmas time, I hope that we can all find some experiences of unmerited favour, of mercy, of forgiveness, of feeling things are better maybe than we deserve. It reminds me of Hamlet, where he meets the players and says to Polonius, look after them. Polonius says, I will treat them like they deserve. Hamlet says, no, you must treat them better than they deserve. Who of us, if we were treated as we deserved, would not be whipped? Or like Psalm 130, where it says, Lord, without forgiveness, who could stand? Without your mercy, who of us could stand? Who could stand on our own feet? So we need this mercy. So in this time, let us find forgiveness. Also, let us celebrate. Let us really enjoy the thankfulness, the togetherness with our friends, with our families, with our neighbours, to the extent that we're legally allowed. So happy Christmas.